So yes, let's introduce everyone here. So I'm Kanban, and with me today I have Del. Say hello, Del.
Hello, that's me.
And also German. Say hi, German.
Hi, Gavin.
Thank you.
I'm
So
sure I'm sure people could guess which one of us is called German by his voice.
Probably.
We don't sound particularly German.
that's a good point. Now just a little bit of history here. I kind of want to say this started because I just randomly said it would be nice to have a segmented run. Um, and then Del was like, actually, like, yeah, let's actually do that. And then you did a ton of work.
Yeah, I tend to do that.
Because see, my idea was just to have like a run that's just nice and smooth and has no major errors. But
Yeah,
your idea of a segmented run was something quite a lot more hardcore. And so I'm shameful to say that I'm not a huge part of the finished product right here. It's been mostly you and Gurman who's worked on this. I've got a couple levels in there, and that's about it. But it's pretty insane what you guys been doing. You wanna, Del, you wanna um break down like some technicalities before we get started?
well, there's a lot of stuff. One of the main things that you see most often is probably getting boosts off of corners and stuff like that. Like when you brush your head up against a ceiling, the corner of a ceiling, it pushes you forward a bit, and when you land on the edge of a platform or a surface, it also pushes you forward a bunch of different amounts depending on where you hit it. And there's also in a similar way uh, like a 10 frame window after you leave a platform, which includes sliders as well, that allows you to still jump afterwards. So there's quite a few tricks that rely on that sort of gimmick to get further than you're supposed to. And what else?
I have a
I guess I could,
couple technicalities I'd like to mention if that's okay.
yeah, go for it.
So it's important to note that in Braid, you can technically on many levels you can technically do them like you can retry. Well, you can do something wrong, rewind, and then do it right, and like keep doing that within the level. And then when you're done with that, you can like rewind the whole level and forward it, and it looks like perfect.
Yeah,
And we have not done that on any level. Like they're every single level has been done like from start to finish without like rewind forward trickery.
yeah. The rules are like every segment is limited to whether it's just like a navigation segment or even just when you re-enter a door, like a separate segment would be from the other side opening the door for only just like a few frames. But every single segment is just when you enter the level, it ends when you exit that same level. So everything done in between on every level and every segment has been done in one sitting by a human at full speed. Uh, so it has a lot of like integrity, and it really shows like what humans are capable of as compared to like there was a segment of speedrun by a Russian guy like in 2015 or something, which used a lot of different forms of segmenting, like using the fast forward thing and cutting in between different parts of the level. Uh, and his time is like a lot worse than ours, but that's just because of the time it was made. But this one's a lot more like uh, true to the segmented run idea.
I wonder though if it didn't like because there is a visual difference from going X1 speed after rewinding than actually
Yeah,
playing X1. If there was no visual difference, we might have cheated a little bit more with it. I don't know, but
I
but
wouldn't have been as comfortable with that.
okay. Well,
It's a lot
then
more of an accomplishment.
it's not a discussion we really had. So
Yeah.
also just to put things into perspective, the current any percent world record is 23 minutes 45 seconds. The TAS run, there is a TAS run that was made, which is fairly popular, is 20 minutes 11 seconds, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this would naturally fall between those two. And the goal, of course, is to get it as close to the TAS as possible and as far as away from the normal any percent record as possible. All right. I don't think I have anything else to add before we start. You thinking of anything?
Nothing comes to mind.
All right. Hopefully the sound and everything will be working. I'm actually gonna turn up the sound on my like cute. Like the sound on the run the music on the run will probably not be too loud because we turned on the music quite a lot. Um, Also, the music is going to be a little bit inconsistent, I think, because we've reset start levels a lot, and the music, when you actually play the game, continues through levels, but it's not, doesn't really
Oh
matter too
yeah,
much.
that's one other thing I wanted to say. The editing process, the only things that have been added, like the things that I edited, all the music is the way it was in every segment and all the sound effects, but I've almost every level in the game I've added the first half of the correct there's 4 different door open sound effects. So for continuity's sake, all the levels that didn't match up in the transition with the door sounds, I've fixed it so that it's the correct door sound, so it's more seamless. And also the in-game, we didn't record any of the segments in the speedrun mode because it's just like really cumbersome and I would have to edit out the timer. So we don't have a timer on the original thing, so I've edited in my own timer, which is as accurate as the actual in-game timer because it is just a recording of it. Um,
Did
so
you,
and yeah,
sorry, did you include a little transition time between each door and pause the timer, or did you just remove all the transition between doors?
uh, it just looks like a normal run. I pause the timer at
Nice.
every time it's supposed to pause, including the 6-1 entry where it pauses for some reason for 0.783 seconds every single run. I don't know why it does that, but it does. I've
I
accounted for that as
I
well.
didn't even know it did that. All right, let's go. I'm gonna try and make it full screen ASAP so I don't see the time. I don't know if I can do that. All right. Well, this is an interesting start. This first part right here, if I'm not mistaken, is faster than TAS, isn't it?
Yeah, by like it's by 0.05, which is around 3 frames.
We found a lot of little slopes and things in between each. I'm gonna turn up the sound here. Holy crap, this is smooth. Between each, a lot of the transition levels, we found a lot of little slopes here and there that actually make some of the transitions faster than TAS. I also want to point out that the name in the bottom left corner is the person running the segment.
Yeah. So there's gonna be like long segments where it's just the same name, but there's quite it's primarily me and German for a lot of it. German took a monopoly on World 4, and I've done every level in World 6. But other than that, it just switches in between every so often. There's even one where I did the segment where I exit the door from a world and then go to the puzzle board for like 0.4 seconds, and then it goes to your thing. And the previous segment was German, so it just shows my name for like 0.4 seconds. And was...
Don't blink. Hey, it's one of my levels. It's one of the two I did.
It's funny because you had 2 levels, but they're both the same level.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. I didn't even think about that. So we found a boost here that TAS doesn't use, so that transition was actually faster than TAS as well.
Yeah, it's around 0.1 faster every time you do it, and you do it twice.
This hunt is basically the same time as TAS 2. I think I looked, it was very little difference. Oh, it's so beautiful. So how many attempts did you have to do that, German?
Like 2000 or something.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
There's a lot of really high attempt levels, and a lot of them are levels you wouldn't really expect to have such a high attempt count. In the spreadsheet, which will be in the description of the main video, there's a graph which visualizes the attempts per world, and for some reason, I mean, I know what the reason is, obviously, because I'm the one that did it, but 2.4 is just like almost double the attempts of the second most one at 3,100, and it's probably, I would say it's the most difficult segment that we've had to do.
This level right here was the level that took the most attempts. This one right here.
Yeah, the first half of it doesn't really sell that idea, but the second half has to be almost perfect, and it's different every single time you do it. So it's really, it took me such a long time to get a flawless one. And this entire run is flawless. There's one unintentional rewind, but that's on a level where literally every single input has to be pretty much frame perfect for the trick to even work. It was considered beyond unfeasible, if not impossible, for a human to do because only the task does it. And you still have to buffer using the ring. It's still really hard when you do that.
That's a 246 World 2 entrance. In reference, that a 255, 54 is a normal good one. That's a good 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think the
Almost
best World to exit is a
52.
253.
Yeah, German almost had a 52 once, I think.
Yeah, I messed up about 1 second on last level.
Yeah, I know a thing or two about messing up on 2-4 for a second. I also tried to do something stupid with the door entry and all the cloud levels. Not cloud as in like 3-3. I mean like the ones where you enter. It's like the level select for each world. There's like you can do slight inputs like a couple frames before or after you enter a door and still enter it. So I just had a bit of fun with that.
That's a pretty crazy face there at German. The fact that you
Yeah.
got those task jumps in there. So how hard is that though?
The shelfless thing. I would say it's not the, for me at least, it wasn't the hardest part of 3-4 for some reason. It should be though. Like for everyone else doing it, I imagine it is, but I just suck at the last piece.
Yeah, I thought you said something that it was surprisingly easy. It's still hard, but like it looks
Yeah.
maybe more impressive than it is to actually accomplish.
Oh yeah, 3-5. It's hard to say, or I mean, it's hard to tell that this is a cycle fast. I think this is at least a cycle or a cycle and a half faster than what people commonly get in their gold splits and runs. The roadblock used to be like being able to jump over the plant in time, but so you don't have to wait there. But like using this cycle, the plant isn't even an issue at all. It's just a given that you're going to skip straight past it. You can even walk straight over the pipe sometimes. But the task gets an extra cycle ahead of that, but the amount of things that have to go right and the length of the level and the arthritis you're going to get when you're 40 years after you do your segments is just not worth it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how that last if you're on a very tight cycle, getting that last piece on that last level, it's so hard on your hands.
Yeah. You can't make any mistakes at all.
And it just your
And
hands hurt
yeah,
after a while so badly.
I had to start using Z instead of spacebar because it was so loud and it was annoying me. My thumb was falling off.
This strat he did there where he just runs over the plant, we actually started doing that in single segments now too. It's surprisingly easy.
Yeah, that's something that it wasn't. I would say that it's a new strat because the task does a completely different cycle that is just not likely, like with the amount of other stuff that has to go right after. Like it's possible, it's really hard, and you have to do it without rewinding because of the way the level works. But also everything after that, it's just not really worth a human doing. It's too out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, the
But
top part where he gets all the boosts and stuff.
yeah, so
Oh, the
the
door! Sorry.
improvement over what we did is, I would say, a new strat because we did it a different way. Also, I was convinced that this was impossible while I was doing attempts. This is what the task does. I think every one of those chandelier hits is frame perfect because of as soon as he gets it for the first time, he's so far to the left of the chandelier, but he immediately starts moving left. So you have like way less than a second to hit him 5 times, and it was a lot of luck involved in that.
Also, when we enter that level, from the level before, he died the same frame he entered in, and that's unfortunately only possible sometimes. Sometimes it's impossible to do it. So it's at the very end of the level, so that's a horrible level to grind because you can get everything perfect and then you just can't enter the door.
Yeah, it's actually the third longest level in the entire game. There's only 3 levels that are longer than a minute, and that's one of them.
And even if you can get it, it doesn't mean you're gonna get it because it's almost,
Yeah, it's frame perfect.
Yeah, it is a frame perfect door entrance.
Yeah, a lot of stuff in this game is determined by which sprite you're on, or when you start it, which sprite cycle. There's a lot of acceleration and different hitboxes are slightly different and stuff like that.
I had the honor of putting all the puzzles together, and I did it fairly boringly. I'm sorry about that.
It was more interesting than, I mean, we couldn't be as interesting as the task, so I guess speed was the next best thing.
Dude, I haven't even looked at the timer, but we're like, yeah, this is about the time that I would want to end Last World, and we're already, yeah.
Yeah, the World 3 exit I think was a 7:01.
Oof. That's about 20 to 30 seconds faster than.
Yeah, it's the time save over what humans do. It starts picking up really fast as you go through the different worlds. This is pretty much just German for the next like 4 minutes or something.
Germany did an amazing job here. I think that Jumpman, German, would that have been an IL record, or was it
Oh
close to
yeah,
it?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, by like point. I mean, he set the new one, but like
Yeah, it would have been by like 0.4.
0.3. Yeah, 0.3,
Yeah,
0.4
0.3.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
because
a lot of the IL levels, especially 2-4. They're a lot faster than the IL world record for the IL. I think we actually we couldn't beat the 6-5 IL one because it uses the entry door as a way to finish the attempt, which is impossible in a speedrun. That's only just the way that the IL mode works. But every other level we've generously improved the record for.
also the last level you saw 4-3 there, which seems like a fairly straightforward level, took a ton of attempts to get right.
Yeah, there's a lot of stopping rewinds at the right time and stuff like that in that level.
Whenever X8 rewinds are involved anywhere,
Yeah,
basically going 1 frame late of stopping the rewind basically ruins your entire attempt.
there's a whole lot of maths involved with it. The amount of time you spend in certain different speeds, and the position, obviously, of your character.
Every time you see a level done slightly differently than tasks, we tried to do tasks, and we deemed it's not gonna.
Yeah, we've tried the task method for literally every level possible. So there hasn't been, and if there is a task strat that's not in here, then the verdict is that it's not possible. We definitely tried it though. But there are some that look like they shouldn't have been possible, so it sets a weird standard.
Yes, the 2-1 especially looked like it should work, and then it's just basically
Yeah,
impossible.
that's one that I don't know. I must have watched the task like 30 times already or something like that. I only picked up on that like very recently that it actually saved 2 seconds in that level. It didn't look like it.
Oh, that is so.
Yeah, this 4-7 was sick.
That way of opening the door there is insane. I think this is like half a second or a second slower than task. Like it's insane.
Yeah, it's really close.
10:03 finish.
Yeah, that's we're a good like 40 seconds ahead of human capability right now.
Like Dell had to make a video where he took the task for 4-7 and slowed it down a lot just to see how it actually opens the door and goes through that part. Because he does do it. He has the same general strategy as the best human strat, but he does it in a way that's slightly different and super fast. And Gurman actually dedicated himself to learning that way and basically did the same thing as Taz does. They're just very slightly slower.
That trick is actually way harder than the strat you normally do, because when you fast forward to get the key back, if you stop the fast forward 1 frame late, the key just gets deleted again.
Yeah,
and
there's
open
a lot
the
of
door. And
a
if
lot
you,
of weird timeline stuff in that level.
yeah, and if you stop the rewind too early, you just don't get the key and die.
Oh yeah, in 5-3, I'm not sure if I'm in 5-2 right now with the delay, but in 5-3 there's a task jump right at the start. I can't remember if we've actually done a task jump yet so far. I can't remember. Probably though. Oh, yeah, we have in 3-3, but
yeah,
it wasn't
3-3.
very noticeable. It's like it's similar. I mean, it's called a task jump because it's pretty much task only, but there are some that are learnable. Not particularly. I wouldn't say a lot of them are consistent because they are nearly frame perfect in multiple different ways. But it sort of you do the 10 frames where you're off of a platform where you can still jump, but you try to get as much speed as possible, and then you slow yourself down to the correct speed with a left input that has to be very well timed, and then you jump after that, and it gives you more distance than you're supposed to do, and that's a lot of the reason why the task saves so much time over normal runs. And also the missed ladder jump there doesn't waste any time at all. That's still an IL world record. It's just because you're waiting for the Goomba anyway.
I was starting to get excited to see myself there, but I remember German slightly improved my run on this one.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. It's still this man. This was another one that was surprisingly difficult. Like seeing how little extra task does on this level.
Yeah.
Also want to
It,
mention on 5-4, task does 5-4 very differently, but it actually saves a surprisingly small amount of time.
yeah, I call that the Braid effect. There's a lot of, if something's really cool in this game, you try it out, the odds are that it's not actually faster, even though the task does it faster. It's really annoying because there's a lot of really cool stuff that we could have showcased in this run, but it turned out actually to be slower than what we were able to do. So a lot of times the easier, less interesting methods are the faster ones, so we had to do that instead.
Super boost. Yeah, layer was another one that took a surprising amount of attempts.
Yeah, I think that's the second most attempts.
Yeah, the first
As,
reset point is actually
yeah, it's
just,
like instantly. So
yeah, it's 1 second into the level.
that's the difference between 2-4 and a lot of levels. A lot of levels that have high attempt counts that shouldn't be as high as you'd expect is usually because there's a trick that's easy to fail right at the beginning of the level, so it doesn't take too long between attempts. But 2-4, it takes forever in between attempts. It's just incredibly hard.
Oh, that was a very smooth door. Double door opening. Alright, a 13. What are we gonna get? 13, 18. Yeah, so this is where we're usually at 14. I think 14. You did a 14:11 German once. On that one, I think that's the fastest we finished. So we're almost a minute ahead now of any percent.
The World 6 you're about to see, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn because I'm the one that did every segment, but I would say it's one of the most consistently impressive and difficult streaks of levels in any speed game I've ever seen. It's like every level has something absolutely insane you can do on it, and I'm very surprised that especially myself managed to pull it off at like any of us. This is the 6-2 is the level that has one unintentional rewind in it, but it's very justified. If you try this level yourself and you try to replicate what I'm doing, I doubt you'll even actually get under the platform in time. It's that tight.
That strat right there is basically thought to be TAS only, and
And
not.
yeah, there's also this one in phase which saves about like 5 or 6 seconds, but it doesn't look like it does. This is
Yeah, you beat
also
a
another
cycle.
one of the level. Yeah, but like normally the cloud that I just jumped off of and put a ring down, you have to be in order to do this over halfway past the cloud, and you have like 2 frames after you land before you're able to place the ring down. And then there's just a bunch of frame perfect stuff after that. But if you try to do the level and try to get to that cloud, you won't even normally see the cloud at all on the screen. It would disappear before you can really get there. There's a lot of annoying attempts put into that. And speaking of annoying attempts, the next bunch of levels are really stupid. Cascade was such an absolute nightmare to grind out.
Cascade is hard just to like get normally without
Yeah,
flaws, and now you want to beat a Goomba cycle on top there, on top of that. That's even more annoying.
it would have a lot more attempts, like due to the reason that other levels do. If I mean, it does. The first reset point is pretty soon, but it's just such an annoying, perfectly annoying distance away from the entry door that you have to travel for like 7 seconds or something before you even see if you're gonna need to reset or not. It's really annoying. There's 6-6 is like that too, which also I would say has another quote unquote mistake in it, but it's not particularly a mistake. It probably loses 0.1 if that, where I just put the ring down and then immediately just pick it back up because I noticed that I put it down. Also, this 6-5 looks absolutely nothing like any other 6-5 you're gonna see anyone do.
No, this is
There's
a
like
very
there's
interesting
there's
one.
multiple different like strats that people could do in runs. This is one that I came up with myself. That is faster, thankfully. That's also just like crazy high on the entertainment value, so I had to include it on the run. I'm absolutely baffled that it's only taken like 41 attempts, and it's like actually there's one frame that you can save the door entry, I think, on this, and that's all you're likely to save off of this. Is really, really clean. I really outdid myself. Oh, that's also another thing, is a lot of time loss in traditional single segment runs is to entering the door after you're able to. Like a lot of the segments aim like very deliberately to enter the door in the first frame possible before the little arrow key icon shows up. There's just like 0.4, 0.5 seconds or something per world just to doors in an average run.
This trick that coming up for you guys that the stream just saw basically when I'm talking is that is insanely difficult, as well as is this way of getting this piece, which is actually glitching out.
Yeah, it's impossible to say, like, from when you pick it up like that to when you exit the door, it never shows up in the top. But you can notice by the way that I know that I actually had the piece when I was doing the segment and that I could keep going is that it actually stays on the screen. You'll notice it's the same size as it would be if it was in the correct place. It's just an interesting bug. Like, if it's on the screen, then you collected it and it stays there. I could even go back and prove it. I think I still have the attempts. And also the first piece trick that was really hard. I think the success rate on that's like 1 in 400 tries or something.
Yeah, that is an insane trick, and it does resemble what Taz does, but
yeah,
slow enough that you can actually see what's going on. Yeah, this one is slightly different too from what people are used to see, at least.
Yeah, this is something that I workshopped myself to make the trick more consistent, but it also doesn't lose any time. Especially when you get you do everything perfectly here and you can make the same cycle that the other one does with quite a bit of leeway. It's also a teleport. It teleports like a gray area.
Yeah.
There is one teleport in 6-6 level before this last one. And the one in this one is one of those things, again, that looks really cool, but it's only faster when the task does it because it has to be perfect.
It's one that was arguably close to being faster of all the fancy task tricks, but yeah, it's
yeah.
Also, the same jumping up on the ladder here is like you have to do it frame perfect for it to be faster, basically.
Yeah, I spent like a good hour trying to get a good segment with the ladder jumps. It always ended up slower.
Oh, you just grabbed the ladder there. I forgot about that. That's pretty sweet. Oh yeah, and then this one, German can actually do what he did right here now in runs now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, this is probably the one she's maybe the level that has the most recent history in this video game, based on like how possible we thought it was. Because it was like something that if you did it once, you would have that to your name for the rest of time. Like I did this particular trick that's really hard once because it's really hard, but now it's like I can get it this consistently or I can get it this quickly. Because there's been kind of setups, but a lot of it is just feeling and hoping that you get everything correctly.
Both me and German did a lot of grinding for this level. German ended up having a slightly faster one, but this is another really annoying level to grind because the first half a minute or so you just have to, you know, it's just the same basically. Yes, we can.
Yeah, it's a lot more viable than it used to be. Especially I mean, I know that PY in the chat in a run was a pioneer of a lot of the. Actually, he's quite an inspiration for a lot of the strats that I've developed. Because I'd be like, hey, what about this strat? And then you'd be like, oh yeah, PY used to do that in a run when he used to run the game, and stuff like that. And epilogue jump, I know that he used to go for that on runs, and I was like, that's crazy. How difficult is that? And then I just messed around with it well and ended up finding a setup that we use today in runs. Also, a fun bit of trivia is I believe that this run and the tasks are both in the lower section of 1-1 at the same time.
Oh.
Which is quite crazy. Even it is a 2-minute level, but there's also like a segment where you have to run straight back across the level over the top. But I think that it's fast enough that the tasks in this level both share the same area as each other, which is quite impressive.
You can stand quite far left on that chandelier. When you go up there, much further left than we've been doing. Also, to answer PY there, the 1-2, I mean the 1-3 task jump, it's still incredibly difficult, but it has been done in runs, and you have about 10 seconds to save. So as long as you can get it within 10 seconds, it will save time.
Yeah, this took like 5 hours to render. That timer was a pain in the ass to make. it's got like anything with blur and stuff like that, like because a lot of the green. I mean, I don't want to ruin the illusion, but yeah, I did put a lot of effort into making it look as good as possible.
That last speed boost in this level. Oh, like if you fail that, you have to redo the all the 1-1. Oh. All right, coming up towards the end here. We're gonna be sub 22 it seems, which is insane. Or maybe. I think so. Yeah, I think it's sub 22. Yeah, it should be. Ooh. Oh, now you get all my recommendations. I wanna stop at the end screen here. Oh, crap. There we go. 21, 50, 42. I'm applauding Dell and German for this accomplishment. This is insane.
Also glad you paused the video on the handful of frames where that looks really stupid.
Hang on, let me.
Yeah,
There we go. There we go. There we go.
that was really difficult to make it work because the time in the background was just like as thin numbers as possible, so the blur was easier to work with, but you can't see it at all, but it's just like the first part because it's fading and it was really silly to do.
So this run will very soon be available on YouTube on well, I can just post a link in the chat now.